morning, good afternoon, good evening. Dictators, when they decide to ride roughshod over the people, denying them their fundamental freedoms and human rights, they always do so cocksure that they'll get away with it. But history has shown us that again and again, there is always going to be the day when they push their luck too far. Can't get away with it. When the president of Tanzania decided to rig the November elections in that country, she was cocksure she'll get away with it. But here we are. The case on, she can't shake it off. It keeps rumbling on. She had seen other countries, of course, like Zimbabwe, rig the elections and get away with it. She must have thought, why not? She can do the same. And now she must be really worried sick, because this is one case that is simply not going away. Here is the European Union making it abundantly clear that they too are aware of what has happened in Tanzania. And they are not going to pretend that things are okay. The pressure is piling on Tanzania's government for having rigged the elections.
29th of October, President Samia Suluhu Hassan crowned herself with a victory of 97% of the votes after silencing the very people who challenged her. And when citizens rose up, especially the young, they were met with bullets, brutality, and a blockade on truth. Hundreds killed, hundreds injured, hundreds arrested, entire country living in fear. Let us say his name clearly. Tundu Lissu, the opposition leader charged with treason, locked away simply because he exercised his democratic right to run for elections. And his imprisonment is a broader assault on democracy in Tanzania that is taking away all the promises to the Tanzanian people of their freedom. And to the Tanzanian people, we have heard you. We are on your side. This House has chosen to stand by you.
The message is very clear. The world is truly sick and tired of leaders who think they have the divine right to rule. And I think the European Union is sending a very clear message here. Yes, there are regimes out there, dictators out there, who are saying, well, who cares about the European Union? Africa's own institutions In this particular case, SADC, election observers, condemned what happened in Tanzania. What's the point of SADC coming up with the rules and guidelines on the conduct of democratic elections if those rules are disregarded? We know that SADC in the AU observed Zimbabwe's elections, and they too condemned Zimbabwe's elections as flawed and illegal. The same way that they've condemned the elections in Tanzania. We have to move as a people away from this rather narrow-minded mentality that democracy is democracy for Europe and there's democracy for North America and democracy for another form of democracy for South America and so on and so forth. The fundamentals of free, fair, and credible elections are universal. We in Zimbabwe, when we're fighting for our independence, one of the key requirements is that we wanted one man, one vote. The one man, one vote has to be a meaningful vote. What we have seen in Zimbabwe, for instance, is not one man, one vote. If people are coerced to attend ZANU-PF rallies, frog marched to go in to the polling station to vote for the regime, that is not one man, one vote. That is not a free, fair, and credible process. And the condemnation of the process must be universal. The African Union election observers condemned Tanzania's election process as flawed. SADC condemned Tanzania's election process as flawed. And I think the increased pressure from other nations like the European Union will force some of our dictators to think twice before they ride roughshod over the people. We cannot have these endless, meaningless elections. What is happening in Tanzania and the condemnation is being felt, like it or not, in Zimbabwe too. I don't think, as much as ZANU-PF would want to pretend that what is happening in Tanzania has nothing to do with Zimbabwe, I don't think they can keep up that pretense. Mnangagwa and company must know that as long as the nation, the people of Zimbabwe can see what is happening in Tanzania, and they can see the positive effect of international pressure on that regime, they will know that they could apply the same to their own country. We are facing 2028 elections. ZANU-PF have not implemented even one token reform since the last elections, in 2023. They are counting on Chamisa and company to con their followers to participate in the flawed elections in their millions, because that is what ZANU-PF needs to get away with it. But many Zimbabweans are waking up to the reality that the opposition, Chamisa and company, are corrupt, incompetent, liars, and conmen. The pressure to force ZANU-PF to hold free, fair, and credible elections is there. The regime would not hold free, fair, and credible elections as long as it knows that it can rig the elections and get away with it. What we must send, the message we must send to ZANU-PF is that you're not going to get away with it in 2028. Because instead of millions of so-called opposition supporters participating in those flawed elections, this time you may find that Chamisa and company will not be able to con so many people, because so many people now know that Chamisa and company has ZANU-PF Team B in all but name, playing for Team A to win and for Team A to have legitimacy. Chamisa lied when he said he had plugged the vote-rigging loopholes to con people to participate in 2023 elections. He is gearing to lie again to the people to con them to participate in 2028 elections. That is the battle line. Stop people being conned by Chamisa to participate in flawed elections, and you deny ZANU-PF legitimacy. Stop millions of people being conned by Chamisa to participate in flawed 2028 elections, and you will deny ZANU-PF political legitimacy. That is the message. And that message must be sent and hammered in the 2 million or so people who were conned in 2023 by Chamisa. It's not an impossible task. It can be done. Indeed, it must be done. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.